Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Music Talks podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Rose. And today, this is the first week of MCO happening again, the lockdown in Malaysia. So we're taking things a little chill, a little relaxed. I don't have my usual list of 20,000 questions in front of me. So we're just going to talk about a few things, just catching up with a mate of mine. And if you have paid attention to past episodes, you will know that he is my British counterpart, I would say. And this is just me checking up on him and seeing what's been happening in the other side of Malaysia. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Armand Malik.
So we're still going through a CMCO, but all but in name. So we're doing MCO, but it's still called an CMCO. We can't dine in. The Raya visiting has been like just put to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less that, except it's an MCO except in name. So it's been cases have been rocketing, like compared to last year.
Oh
We've
yeah,
only had
yeah.
like no more than 10 cases, but now it's just gotten worse.
Mhm.
So we're still going through a CMCO, but all but in name. So we're doing MCO, but it's still called an CMCO. We can't dine in. The Raya visiting has been like just put to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less that, except it's an MCO except in name. So it's been cases have been rocketing, like compared to last year.
Oh
We've
yeah,
only had
yeah.
like no more than 10 cases, but now it's just gotten worse.
Mhm. So I know you've been doing like one show a month recently,
Mm-hmm.
and like COVID just didn't stop you guys, right? It
No,
didn't stop
not
you.
necessarily. I mean, to comment on that, I had no idea you were keeping track, because when like from my perspective, it's just been show after show, like taking it step by step, and each of those programs is essentially like a big deal. So you have no time to think about like what I've been doing over the past few weeks. It's just constantly being in the moment.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Mm.
And it's always been that way where you're going through the motion, and then after like a
Mm-hmm.
whole year, and then you have that peace time, and then you're looking back like, oh, I had like 12 shows. Like if we are keeping the ratio of one show a month, then you'll have like, oh, this
Okay.
12 shows that you didn't really sit down and just fully grasp it in the moment, like
Yep.
enjoyed it. Yeah. So before I get into your, I don't know, performance itinerary, I just want to ask, like,
Mhm.
you did mention last time music, Prodigy Music Center. So
Yes.
I know that you do a lot of shows with them, but at the same time they're a
Mm-hmm.
music center. So let's get that out of the way. Like, what do you do
All
there?
right. What do I do? My capacity and role in Prodigy Music Center is as a teacher. For firstly, like that's my regular um gig. That's my regular paying job, where I teach music theory to grade 5 students.
Mhm.
I've started working since August last
Mhm.
year, and um, I've been holding classes, whether online or through face to face, of since then. Um, the problem now is I haven't taught them in I think almost a month since the beginning of Ramadan, because of the increasing SOPs and the pandemic. So sometimes my boss would take over if I couldn't make those classes because of other commitments and projects that we have ongoing. And at the moment, my students, I feel I've instructed them and coached them well enough, but we're still waiting for to take this for them to sit for the exam. from the with ABRSM, because ABRSM is because ABRSM being in the UK, they also have their own COVID problems. Mhm. So that's me as a teacher. So, and then other than that, there's that's that's really basically it for my capacity as Project Music Center. There's a distinction I'd like to make. There's also my boss also heads this orchestra called Prodigy Orchestra, of which I am its conductor and arranger. So that's sort of a role that's expanded, or that's been extended to me after after like a few after a few weeks working on several major projects at the beginning of last summer. So I mean, I arrange songs for various events, and usually public or state sponsored projects. So I would like I would that's just that would be my job. Not only, and sometimes for Project Orchestra we also bring along like our students from Project Music Center. We teach mostly pianists, and but the bulk of our students play string instruments. So I would write music not just for professionals, but also for also catered to the proficiency levels of our students. And like I've had some good results with them, and like with only a little bit of practice, they can pretty much play
catch up
on,
to the
on the same catch up to the pros.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a distinction that I really want to confirm, because I feel like on one hand you do wear two hats. You know, you do teach and then handle the orchestra, but at the same time you also have that blending of both worlds coming together, because some of them are, like you said, you do bring on your students. So do you actually approach it simultaneously? Like you go in, you're going to be teaching them theory. Oh wait, it's got to be theory. Like you're going to be teaching them whatever this is according to whatever the next show is, or do you like intentionally keep it separate?
Oh, as in, do I try and bring my students into the music program?
Yeah, as in, like, do you directly tackle that heads on, or is this something that you think up on the fly?
Oh, it's definitely something that is picked up on the fly. It happens, I wouldn't say subconsciously, it's something that happens coincidentally. So I've only had like one or two students in the orchestra who I've taught in theory class, because most of them are pianists, and the students we bring on who play strings are not my students. They're mostly people, they're my colleagues' students. And what I've always liked the idea is bringing them on, even though they're not needed for rehearsals or not even performing, is that just so that they have a role model to look up to and to model themselves on, so that they know how to act and behave in an orchestra or in any musical performance and setting. And historically, Prodigy has always had an annual concert for the last 10 years it started.
So relating to this whole orchestra thing, you did mention that it involves a few professionals. So how did it come about? You and a few other professionals, because you know, if we were to start listing down amazing musicians in Sarawak, I of all people would vouch for the idea that a lot of great musicians actually come from, you know, Sabah, Sarawak. So did you guys like come together and plan this whole, oh, we should start our own orchestra in like a rebellious manner, or or was it just somebody started like rounding up the Avengers kind of thing?
Oh, the keyword here is Avengers, and I like how you've brought that word up, because that's exactly in the same manner, in the exact manner that my boss saw it, because she's been in the industry longer than I have, and she's worked with countless musicians as a performer. So for her, as boss and a leader of her own company and to start an orchestra. She essentially just rounded up talents who she's worked with and who she's comfortable with based on like based on the chemistry. And a lot of these musicians, they're not really professionals. Like some of them are, they wouldn't say amateurs. They play professionally, but music is not their main. I would say music
bread and butter.
it's not their bread and butter. So like, but they're still pretty good. Like some of them, I've seen them at other orchestras, especially in the state orchestra headed by the Majlis Seni Sarawak.
Mhm.
That's where the government, that's where other government projects go to, if not other people like us. So with it, so it's kind of an Avengers style recruitment of assembling an orchestra where we get the best of every player, the best from every bit, but mostly based in Kuching. And we even, like in one of our projects, we even employed Nisa Adina,
Mhm.
who is actually stationed in KL, as you know.
Yeah.
So having so being able to have a leader like her and with the connections helps a lot in knowing where to find the best talents and then to sort of get them to create the best sound and work together.
Overall musicality. Yeah. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it does get me kind of confused when you said that there is a state orchestra, but at the same time, you guys work autonomously as your own entity. So do you guys sometimes like merge with the state orchestra? Because I remember at the top of my head, you did perform for like the Perdana Menteri. The Prime Minister actually came over to Sarawak somewhere in December last year. Or was it January or something? And you were conducting with like jumping around, and I'm just surprised like you didn't toss off your like soprano saxophone and then suddenly you just like have like your tenor saxophone at the side, right?
Oh god, like I can't imagine. I don't know where to begin with that gig because it was such a last minute call. Like less than a week we were called to do that project. Um I was at a kampong house to survey a venue for a video shooting, for a music video shooting for Raya, which I dropped a few days ago.
Mhm.
And then I remember my boss giving me the call, and she was like freaking out, like not knowing how to get things started. But we managed to pull through. So for gigs like this, like especially restricted, time restricted preparation, we couldn't rely on the assistance or collaboration of the bigger state orchestra, because because you have more people to manage, and these people are more amateurs than they're like comprised of more amateurs and part-timers than our orchestra, which is sort of
Oh.
a smaller unit. Yeah. So and the and you can't you can't get your hopes high on attendance and the expectation of quality, because really the orchestra is just a group of people of all ages, so mostly people who are into their late 40s or middle age. The prominent demographic. So they're a lot more laid back, and they couldn't care less about musicality and just they're just rather excited to be there and play their instrument. So we so we managed to for the Prime Minister's gig, there were a lot of stuff that we weren't ready or we didn't have prepared. For example, the kinds of songs and the repertoire that the government was asking for, in the sense that like they were expecting a they were expecting a pop band, a band with essentially a rhythm section,
A big band,
which is what
like
a
contemporary
big band.
stuff.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were expecting a big band, not essentially horns, but essentially with drums,
Mhm.
something, because that's essentially what the layman wants to listen to, whereas we didn't have that. All we had was strings and a
Yeah.
piano, and then maybe a clarinet if my hands are too full. Because because during those rehearsals, I'd be no kidding. I had I had to find time to put down my instrument strap and then take my baton, and sometimes I would have baton and saxophone in hand, which
Yeah.
was which is a lot of gymnastics work, and it was getting in the way. I was thinking in this event, so I had to cut down on it, because for government events like this, you cannot have any gaps or or like long intervals between
Yeah.
songs. Like they
Yeah.
just kind of want it snap
Yep.
transitions to keep the audiences and the guests engaged.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
I was just imagining you like doing that Freddie Mercury thing where he was just like holding on to the microphone stand and he was like signaling to the audience, and at the same time his left hand was on the piano. It's just like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All you needed
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
at that
yeah,
point was just like your right feet on the piano and
uh-huh. I mean, that's a clever thing with what Freddie Mercury does, because he's essentially being such a being such offering generous time to the roadies and the stage crew while they're setting up for each song in
yeah,
between.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just gonna stall.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna know it.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stall, but you're gonna think it's part of the show. Yeah. And then so that was like for the bigger like a more government related shows. But then at the same time you
Mhm.
did have those you were accompanying other artists. And up to a certain point, like you were getting called for interviews on like the national TV and all, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was that one time. I can go into it.
Yeah.
So in early February, I did a TV show for uh RTM, TV1's Kupa Kupi. So they, like a month earlier, back in January, they like the RTM crew came around to where I worked, and they wanted to interview my boss. They wanted to interview my mom, and mostly and they wanted to see me in work, like have footage of me at work,
Yeah.
kind of. So I just conducted a couple of my arrangements, and then it's up on Instagram if you want to check it out. It's the Coldplay and the
Check it. Check it.
Guitar and
All
Jiwa. Guitar and
yeah, by
Jiwa.
Piramli, yes. Yeah.
So I play a bit of classical saxophone in there, so that's good. It's an interesting thing to watch. Um, and that TV show itself, it was like the challenge for me was that I had to speak in a quasi English, quasi Malay.
Mhm.
Like I had to make sure that I had to get the message across that I can speak Malay pretty well, but I mostly prefer to talk in English without
Yeah.
looking like because it's RTM. The whole philosophy for that is being able to like speak in the national language.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's RTM. And then another program with another few programs which I've done is for Sarawak's new TV network, for TV Sarawak. So like I've done a couple of shows. There was one where it has really to do with music and more to do with cooking. It was like a cooking show where we cook dishes before iftar for breaking
Yeah. Yeah.
fast. And yeah, we were just sent to this remote village, and then like we were on I think we were on a boat, like film being on a boat, sent ashore to a kampong house, and then we were just filming, like learning how to make certain dishes. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And then what other shows did we do? Uh
You had that
there's that.
Koei thing, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Oh, that was part of the that was a little that was like a little sponsored ditty that we did for the Prodigy concert for the students. The thing that we always do every year, but this one's a bit more beefed up, and because of COVID, we had to do it pre-recorded and virtual as opposed to the live iterations that we've done. So I suppose I had a voice for doing that kind of thing. So I was just having a bit of fun,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
using that voice, the speak over voice.
So it's very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, if you actually go through his Instagram, Armand Malik, I feel like his Instagram page, his feed, perfectly captures the active musician, or rather, the general active musician of Malaysia, whereby
Oh.
the he has a lot of shows going on, but there are some they are interspersed with like a home recordings. Like there were clips of you like recording, you were singing some things
Mhm.
as part of like a challenge to yourself, and then you were
Yeah.
like posting things like you were playing on the piano or something like that, right? So I feel
Mhm.
like that perfectly captures what COVID does to musicians. Like their gigs still go, their shows still go,
Mhm.
but at the same time,
Mhm.
MCO is still MCO. You still
Right.
are on lockdown, but you still have your creative juices flowing, I would say.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Like it's nice that I believe if you remember our old teacher Patrick Churbrack, he used to say
Mm,
in this was like back in our second semester fusion ensemble, he would say
mm.
if if there's hardly any work coming along, you get stressed out. But if work is steady, if there's always like if you're busy constantly, you'll never get stressed out of boredom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So were you? I was just I don't know, maybe it was just a personal thing. I was just like slowly keeping track of your page, and I was like hoping like you will go into more of that Jacob Collier thing. So you'll just take this
Ah.
vocal clip, this singing clip, this piano
Uh-huh.
clip, and then you're gonna be playing on the bass, and then some of your clips had like your drum set. And I do know you have a drum set and
I
stuff. So
do. I haven't
so
touched it in
when are
years.
you gonna make one of those like home home recording?
Oh, okay.
What do you call
I
bedroom
be-
musicians? Yeah.
better yeah, yeah, bedroom musicians. I I mean, I do have the time, and I believe I can. I'm thinking of doing it because maybe not with like not with a gazillion instruments, but slow. I've always wanted to do. I've like in the past few days I've been going to a book fair in town, and like I've been looking for duet books on clarinet and saxophone. I mean, I could arrange the stuff myself, but like the wealth of material there is just at least it's something for me to just sight read and then record separately in parts. So maybe I'll put out a few clarinet and saxophone um recordings, like
Mm.
where it's just multi-track, and I've always wanted to hear what it sounds like sort of like a woodwind choir. So yeah, I'll so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, yeah. I, I would say like you're gonna put out one and one more and one after another, and the peak of it would be that I can't remember, like 60 plus voices for Moon River, and
Yeah,
yeah. So I would
yeah,
just
yeah.
think like 10 lines for clarinet, 10 saxophone, like 10 soprano, 10 alto saxophones.
What I'll do is I have something like that for the if you can if you check out my my YouTube channel. I started a company not too long ago. It's called Armand Malik
Armand
Productions.
Productions. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like I can give you the link to all that. So what I've done for my first project, which is Sloka Hari Raya, which
Mhm.
is a cover of a Raya a classic Raya song. There's there's a part of the music video where we go into just my own feature where I play like four of my all four no three three of my saxophones, and it's harmonized. So the tenor has the lead, and then it's harmonized by a soprano, tenor, and alto. So I'll maybe isolate it and isolate that section and then post it up on my own page just to give you a taste of what to expect for this kind of bedroom musician project.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah, yeah.
I have been talking to a few people in the past episodes about how
Mhm.
this new generation of bedroom musicians is both bad and good for the people. It's
Right.
good because you know you're not limited in any way. We're not limited. We're still going strong. We're still making music. The music industry of Malaysia is still alive, still surviving. But it's
Yes.
bad because, or rather, this would raise a debate about how there are some people out there that actually spend like 20, 30, 40,000 ringgit for their equipment. But then somebody, I mean, not to take a jab at you, but somebody at home can just have like a MacBook Pro or MacBook
Uh-huh.
Air
Mhm.
and a simple microphone and a good guitar. I mean, a simple guitar. And they could be making like 1 million views on YouTube and so on.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, like, I guess, yeah, I I wouldn't know what to say, but props to them, because how I've at some point along my development as a musician from our university days till now, I've always seen like my perspective of music technology and music programming has changed because essentially we're the digital music platform, like especially with like knowing how to use DAWs and like knowing how to with sound design essentially
Mhm,
it's a real game changer because you're essentially working with the bare minimum like with the primordial blocks of sound and sound waves. There's like you're working with that science and you can get to the bottom and the gist or essentially the essence of what makes music enjoyable and
yeah.
yeah, great to listen to. So essentially it's yeah it's unfortunate for people who can't subscribe to the idea of digital music creation, whereas they prefer the analog way, which is it's I wouldn't say outdated. It's just that there it's it's just that it in this day and age the digital medium is more widely received.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mm.
But so again, like reiterating that, or rather reaffirming the idea that you embody the ideal musician of Malaysia. At least for me personally, because you both capture that bedroom musician side, or rather
Mhm.
for you, it's not really a bedroom. It's more of like your house music,
My bedroom's
homemade.
a mess.
And at the same time, you're also out there and uh pushing the envelope, doing new things, still keeping the music industry alive. So I feel like a lot of people that aren't, entangled in both worlds, they are
Mhm.
not really sure, oh, this one is good, this one is bad. This other one is good,
Yeah.
this one is actually better. It's a worse idea and blah blah blah. So yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like that's the culmination of this whole episode of podcast.
All right.
I'm really happy that like you're still putting out music.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm glad that you're checking them out.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, uh, if you are interested in checking out Mr. Armand Malik's content, if you have the time to watch all his content, which because there's a lot, you can check out on the links. If you're watching this on YouTube, the links are below. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you'll find it in the show notes. All his YouTube page, his Instagram, his OnlyFans. You don't have an OnlyFans, right?
Let's not go there.
Okay, that's for the other demographic. uh, you can just check it out on the show notes, and I guess that's it for today's episode. It's just a short one, just a catching up session. So, thank you so much, buddy, for sharing with
You're
us.
most welcome.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for delving into the episode this week. We hope you have a great week ahead, and please take care of yourself, take care of people around you. We are still in that COVID situation right now. Thank you so much.